So I actually want to transition now to some of the other coaches that have prior spoke, and specifically on one topic. And it's something that Kirby, Sarkeesian, and Lane Kiffin have all spoken about. Obviously, they all have one thing in common, and it's Nick Saban. And Nick Saban is at SEC Media Days. There was some jokes on Monday. They asked him what was the biggest difference in SEC Media Day, and he said that he has to wear a credential because on Monday he tried to get into SEC Media Days and realized he didn't have his credential and had to go back and get it. And he said he had been to SEC Media Days 17 times and had never worn a credential. And, obviously there were plenty of jokes around, how does the person at SEC Media Days not know who Nick Saban is? But nevertheless, he was in good spirits, was laughing about it. And I think that obviously Nick Saban is one of the best football communicators of our lifetime. I think that he does a really, really good job, obviously connecting with players and coaching the game itself, evidence of the national titles. But I think also how he talks about the game, how he wants to grow the game, I think is honestly second to none. And I think that's kind of a bigger piece of who Nick Saban is. And obviously I think that the game day and media days and the draft and all these things that he does to kind of share his expertise helps him obviously share it with everyone. It also helps him allow him to kind of stay. He talks about it allowing him to kind of scratch the itch of football because SEC Media Days or the draft or, coming into college game day, he's going to be watching film, to figure out what he's going to talk about and, what he's going to highlight. And that's similar, obviously different, but similar to the film that he was watching, as a head coach. But I think the bigger thing is what it does for the fans. And it's that, like I said, Nick Saban is he has a way of speaking about football and explaining it in a way that people can understand. And so, like I said, I think that for Nick Saban and for the fans, I think that it's a great thing for him to obviously be involved. But all three guys spoke not about Nick Saban, the coach. They spoke about Nick Saban, the person. And I thought that it was really big, and I just wanted to highlight it. And if you haven't had a chance to read, I wrote an article on Substack right after Nick Saban retired. And I highlighted a story that, many of you may have actually read about when it originally happened, but the April 27th, 2011 tornadoes that came through Tuscaloosa, and the fact that those tornadoes honestly united Saban to the community here. Like I said, I do live in Tuscaloosa now, and this community was just destroyed by the tornadoes and the outbreak that happened in 2011. And Nick Saban, but not became a better person then, but showed the side of Nick Saban that I think that many people don't know exists. And Sark talked about it. He talked about, many people, when they think of Saban, you think of the screaming, the throwing the headset, the just going berserk on somebody, throwing the hat, whatever. And he goes, that's not the Nick Saban that I know. And it's that obviously he has that switch. He has that competitive instinct. He has that side to him. But Nick Saban, the person, also is a very compassionate person, is a very loyal person, is somebody who obviously cares about others. And Sark talked about, one of the biggest things for him was learning to be a man. Kiffin talked about the fact that he would be forever grateful to the university because Saban took a chance on him when nobody else would. He was considered radioactive. Honestly, Sark was the same way, right? Both of those guys took jobs with Saban when they were not at the height of their career, when they were at the low point of their career, and Saban kind of revitalized their career. Both cases, now these guys are SEC head coaches, with national title aspirations. And then Kirby talked about, again, Nick Saban, the man, right? And so I think it's something that you're seeing because Nick Saban obviously isn't one of the other coaches that they're going up against every day now. It's somebody that they can kind of stand back and give their flowers because it's one thing, they can say what they can when somebody is an active coach, but to a degree, if you say too much good about your opponent, then potentially players and recruits are going to be like, well, if that guy's so good, why don't I play for him instead of you? But now that Nick Saban's not, a coach, it's somebody that they can look back and say, hey, this is somebody I really look up to. This is somebody that has had a huge impact on me. And I think that that's something that's really worth mentioning. Like I said, if you have a chance to read the article that I wrote, please do. It's really a deep dive into what all Nick did. Nick and Terry, donated tons of money. That's where they started building the houses for Habitat for Humanity. Immediately cancels like workouts and practices, and tells his players like, hey, go find something to do. Go, these people need you. Like, go out in the community. Multiple players have said that they feel like that's what led them to the titles in 2011, 2012 was the unity of those teams and the togetherness of those teams. And it's something that, like I said, it just showed a side of Saban and obviously his wife, Terry, which if you don't know anything about, she's just an incredible lady. But it really just shows a side of Saban that I think that many people don't know exists. And it's something that you're able to see a little bit more now that he's not on the coaching side. When you're seeing some videos with his daughter, his grandkids, you're definitely starting to see a little bit more of it. But those things have peaked out, and I think that article and that kind of story, there were many articles written about it, and maybe even some documentaries. But that time in Saban's life kind of showed it as well as anything out there. So if you haven't had a chance to read it, watch it, look at it, I definitely recommend, looking into that, because it's definitely something that I think is worth your while.